everything in our life is a form of bet.
Hey guys, my name is Chun Weng and you're tuning in to the Crypto Kopitiam, where we talk about tech, personal finance, and crypto. Usually what happens is that I talk to the camera and the camera doesn't talk back, but today I've got a few friends, including, as per usual, KC, and one friend today who probably needs no introduction if you're into personal finance, but for the sake of being polite, I think it makes sense for me to introduce Yi Xuan. So Yi Xuan is many things, but he is very well known for the guy behind Nomoneylah.com. We met each other in the Fire Facebook group, actually, and I like reading his posts. And he promoted one of my videos, so I guess you can say that we're best friends now. So, so welcome to the Crypto Kopitiam, Yi Xuan. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chun Weng, and KC as well. Thanks for inviting me over to the session. I'm good. Just that my hair is very messy, so as you can see, I'm
Mine too.
wearing a cap today. So haircut has been a problem for me, right? I guess for us guys, and throughout this for the past few months. So yeah, forgive me for the cap, but other than that, things have been good, right? Been busy with my blog, writing on Nomoneylah, and as well as coping with the life, right? Staying at home, right? And trying to balance between work and personal life as well, which I think is faced by most of us these days.
Yeah, I think it's so cool that like for girls, right, at least they can just change their hairstyles, right? For guys, for guys, we all look like.
I think like for ladies, they want to cut their hairs as well, but I guess it's the problem for regardless for men and women. So but for us, when it gets messy, it's just it's just real tough right? It just affects the daily life as well.
Yeah, you should have seen Casey's look. I think in like the Aaron Tang episode, his hair is like covering up like
that. Fingers crossed we can go and get a haircut soon.
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. So you know, why don't you start off by introducing yourself a little bit? And you know, everyone knows you as the guy behind Nomoneylah.com. So can you tell us a little bit about your background before Nomoneylah and etc.?
Right, sure. So for fellow Crypto Kopitiam viewers, right? My name is Yi Xuan. I'm the founder behind the blog Nomoneylah. So Nomoneylah is where I write all things about personal finance, investment, and also a little bit about my trading journey, because one of my goal, right, aside from writing, is to become a consistently profitable trader, but which is something that I'm still working towards too. So prior to starting Nomoneylah, I studied economics in University of Malaya, or UM. So I was during my time as a student, right, I was the president of University of Malaya Economic Society. So that gave me a great deal of information and experience, right, about economics and leadership as well. So after my graduation, right, I worked in an insurance technology company called Policy Street. So this is where the goal was to try to use technology to revolutionize insurance, the whole insurance industry, which includes things like blockchain, which is actually one of the time where I was the most active in the crypto space or in the blockchain space. So that's how I kind of get into more detailed understanding towards the blockchain market. It was back in 2017 and 2018. Then I left the job and started what I do today. So it has been next month would be my 3 years, right, since I started. It would be my third anniversary since I started Nomoneylah, which is amazing given how that with just writing I can survive for like 3 years, which is crazy.
That's crazy. Have you ever thought that there was even like a possibility that you could have actually just done writing and then just, you know, like survive? Because for so many people, the thought of that when you start thinking about like a writer, you start thinking about a hungry writer and things like that. You know, you think about like a very glorified. I remember like for Stephen King, right, when he first started writing, he was like in this like hippie band kind of bus, you know, he was shirtless in a lot of pictures. He was just writing and things like that. He made like almost no money, and That's such a crazy thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. I but wish I kind of can relate to the background story that you mentioned just now, because at the start I didn't really make much, right? I have to take up different gigs or in order to kind of survive. So yeah, I mean, I think consistency really helped me, because luckily I did not give up writing and really push forward. And uh another thing about it is just I'm lucky to be writing about the financial industry, because the opportunity is massive. So yeah.
Mhm. I want to ask, like, because going from a stable job to a self-employed requires, I think, a lot of psychology efforts. You have a lot of psychology barrier before you cross that line, right? And I would say this specifically because I think the time when you jump from your stable job into Nomoneylah isn't like a lot of people. A lot of people only choose to become self-employed when they hit a career a career tipping point where they couldn't move up anymore, or they couldn't find anywhere else they could go, so that they move there. But for you, it is the choice. So what makes you choose to do that?
Right, good. I think that's a good question, because as I mentioned just now during my introduction, I was a president of the University of Malaya Economic Society. So before I started working, I'm already sort of like the entrepreneurial or not, let's just skip the word entrepreneur, but the idea
word
of,
the word entrepreneur quite weird nowadays, right?
but the idea of taking lead or taking charge of my own my own path has always been my goal, right? It's just me lah. I mean, I don't like to be ordered to do this or that, right? Instead, I like to plan things out, right? I like to work together towards a goal, right? Which I can visualize, right? And I think I can achieve. So back in my university time, I have already told myself, right, deep down, that I would not work for any corporate, right, which is I have never done so far in my life. And I would that's the first tipping point as a student. Then after I started working in the startup, I realized that this might not be something I want as well. So but during that time, the idea initially, right, when I started Nomoneylah, is because I wanted to trade full time, and at the same time I know that I need another source of income. So and I know, because I've been a blogger on the old time blogspot before. So I want to start a blog, because that's what I can do as well. So this is a very interesting point, right? 2017-18, right? I quit my job 2018. I tried to do full-time trading, which it failed, right, miserably, because I don't get the whole gist about the market and trading as well. But right now it's getting better. I'm working towards a path. Yes, 4 years. So this is something that I do behind the scene. But so at the same time, 2018, I started my blog as well, Nomoneylah. And at the same time, right, I do quite a lot of things, right? So I also went for the certification of the International Table Tennis Federation coach. So I'm a table tennis coach, certified table tennis coach. So during that time, I do quite a lot of side hustles, including my blog as the coach, right, and trading. So which eventually the blog, this side of the business or the gig or hustle really worked out for me. So and hence this is where I am right now. So in terms of the psychological barrier, I guess I've jumped through it when I was in university as someone running my own club and so on.
That's really cool. So my next question is because before we get you on, right, Chun Weng is do you know this guy Yi Xuan from Nomoneylah? I was because I don't really read a lot of personal finance blogs, so I don't know. You did. Chun Weng also always say you don't know about something called FIRE, and I was like, what is FIRE? I always have this question in my mind. So I don't want Chun Weng to explain to me. I want you to explain to me. That's why I always tell Chun Weng, don't tell me what it is. I wait for today for a very long time already. So can you please enlighten me?
Yeah, sure. So FIRE is an acronym to Financial Independence Retire Early. So basically, essentially, the whole idea is basically you're gonna work towards a financial goal, right? Where the big picture idea is where you work towards a financial goal or through investment or increasing your earning until a state where your passive income is enough to cover your daily expenses, right? During that time, you can choose whether you want to continue working, you want to retire early. It's totally up to you. But the point here is you have the choice, right? You have the choice what you want to do in your life after you achieve the whole FIRE status.
What do you think? Like so I was explaining to KC, and then he didn't quite like he didn't quite like he's like, I don't get why people do the FIRE thing though. Like, but what's the so I guess I personally am a part of the FIRE movement, right? But what is the rationale behind the FIRE movement for most people actually?
That I think it's hard for me to justify the rationale for everyone, but the whole idea is because people do not want to work for the whole of their life, right? I mean, for a lot of us when we started working, right? I mean, because even like my brother, he started to get an internship lately, and he already started complaining, oh, am I going to live this life forever, right? Until I die. So I guess the whole idea about FIRE is very simple, right? People do not want to work for for the whole of their life, but they want certain form of financial stability or financial independence, right? Even after they retire, when they choose to retire. So I guess this is the big picture rationale for a lot of people looking into a FIRE movement. But lately, what has been rising is instead of the FIRE movement, people are more towards into the FIRE movement, the financial independence part, instead of the retire early, because a lot of people do enjoy what they do, but they still want financial independence, so they have the choice on where if there's one day they don't want to do what they do anymore, they can just quit and without any worries.
I agree with that actually. So personally for me, right, I am part of the FIRE movement not because I want to retire early, because I don't think I can retire early. So I think it depends on the type of personality. But I generally think that I'm sure that this statement might not apply to some people, but for most people, I think that retiring early is not like a good thing to do. I think humans need purpose to continue in life. Once you lose purpose, it's over for you.
I think you gotta define what retire means to you, because for the general norm, retire means, right, you don't work, right, and you just sit at home, watch TV and so on. But I've read this book called The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, right? He suggested something called like a short-term retirement, where maybe you work for 3 months, then you retire for 1 month, right, go chill, then you come back to work, right, and so on. So you gotta define what retire means to you. But for the sake of this discussion, I don't think a lot of people like to fully retire, right, unless a scenario or circumstances force them to do so. So yeah.
I mean, KC, you're kind of at that age where a lot of people are moving into their first jobs and everything like that already.
Mm-hmm.
Do they all share the same like thought with like what Yi Xuan's younger brother is going through and things like that? Wow, this work I cannot do and things like that. What is it like?
I think this is just my personal. I think I don't think this can apply to everyone, but I when I see around me, everyone is basically pretty similar to what your brother is doing. I think there's one reasoning behind this is because we grow up at an age of Netflix. We see those fake kind of work-life balance on all these TV shows and movies, like, oh, work is like that. When I was like 15, I think like working is something like the startup TV
Fancy
series,
office.
yeah, fancy office. It's cool, man. Everyone's cool, everyone happy every day. Even you have something that is dull or something, in the end you get something back in return. But that is just TV series, like. And now when they really start going into working, it's like, oh, okay, so we just repeat the same thing every day. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
And it's so crushing, right? Yeah, I mean, I know you've not worked in corporate before, right? Yeah. But working in corporate, I tell you, it's chips at your soul, man.
I mean, I hate things. It has never been part of my plan to work in the corporate, right? Because the just a personal sharing, because when I was running my club, right, back in UM, because UM is huge, right? We have a different clubs, right, across different faculties. I see some faculty, they run their club like a corporate, right? It's everything is so boring, so structured. Um, I just cannot stand it, right? The way I run my own life, right? The way I run my own club, and everything. It's never been part of corporate. I would like bore myself to death if I enter corporate, right? But who knows, right? Fingers crossed, right? Let's not cut down the path of possibility.
I've actually been to the UM campus before. It's huge, by the way. It's really, really big. Like,
Yep,
just to get from
is.
point A to point B, you have to drive actually. It's insane.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great place to study. Like, it was a good memory.
Nice, nice. I guess then, what do you think is like the pro and sort of like the con of FIRE actually?
Um, maybe for the sake of this discussion, let's just maybe stick to the usual norm of FIRE, i.e., financial independence, retire early, right? So the pro is certainly once you have that goal in mind, right, you really work towards that, right? You have a direction. I think having a direction is super important. A lot of people, after they come out to work, they lost themselves, right? It's just work, right? Come back, eat, right? Monday to Friday, waiting for a weekend, and that's about that, right? That's about that for their life. So once you have the FIRE goal in mind, right, you really have a direction, right? To really take charge of your financial life, right? How you manage your budget, how you manage your finances, right? How you really pay attention to things like insurance, all the little things in your life, right? To really get you to that milestone in your life. So that's what I think is the major benefit of having this FIRE movement, right? But the con side is a lot of people tend to over glorify the result, right? They don't see the process to getting there. So and hence a lot of people want the kind of like a shortcut manner, right? By doing things by being scammed by MLMs, right? Taking uh, uh, irrational investment decisions that can give you like how many percent return per year and so on, right? Without them really understanding how it works. So so I would say that this is a concept of FIRE. So in short, FIRE without context is really playing with literal fire.
Yeah, I mean, actually, especially I think when I first graduated, right, I see all of a sudden I get phone calls from a few friends, hey, you want to enjoy this? I got this what investment, and then
Yeah,
I got
that's
this
true. That's
oh, you need insurance or not? You need insurance, right?
true.
So you have all these people and things like that. And I think the problem with FIRE also, I agree with you, is that you you are so hyper obsessed with like the results, right? To the point where you totally like you're okay with suffering so much, right? In term because here's the thing, you work like 50% of your life,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
And you're okay with foregoing joy in that just to hit FIRE faster. And then as soon as you hit FIRE, right, I think a lot of people then come to realize like, oh, what the hell have I been doing for the past like 20 years?
Yeah, I guess you know what, by the time most like normal people hit are able to hit FIRE, they wouldn't be able to, run a marathon, go hike, Mount Kinabalu and so on. So as you're absolutely right, the process, right? You gotta enjoy at the same time. You shouldn't make FIRE as your only sole um goal in your life, and you just gotta enjoy the process. Find something that makes you happy along the way.
Yeah, but yeah, Casey, from your point of view, right? I mean, freshly graduating soon and things like that. Like, have you started getting calls from friends about MLM and insurance and everything like that already?
At first, I would say like I'm personally I think I'm open for all this call. I don't support MLM or Ponzi like that, but I think why all these friends do this, I do receive a lot, and then why I still like answer them most of the time, because I'm a curious person. I think like only people get into this phase is because they are in some kind of financial struggle or
Yeah.
something like that. I always see like those people who put out the most glorious front, are actually like they definitely had some problem in their life. That's why they always want to pump up, like let people see the. So yeah, I get a lot of this, and I would say I'm pretty proud. Like some of them, I managed to talk them off doing something like promoting scam and stuff like that. And also like adding on, because my background is I'm a law student right now, so I tell them like the consequences if shit happens. Okay, you'll be really badly involved. Yeah. So like they are like, okay, and then they move on into doing some other thing that's more legit. I think for youngsters, especially in like early 20 ages, even me, I would say like we really want to hit like we all have this dream like, okay, let's at 30 years old, let's be a millionaire. And then like we can just chill after that. But
don't we all have those goals?
yeah, but like really going into it, because I started crypto quite early, I understand like that goal is every investment. That goal is like, yeah, some people can achieve it, but to put that as your ultimate goal is it really crippled into your soul and start to eat you up as a person. And there's one at one point you will start become very frustrated for yourself because you couldn't really hit that goal, and you see that you don't have any choices. Then you start doing all this illegal stuff. I think that's what causes all this problem to happen. Yeah, this is my
talking
personal
about like,
opinion.
I mean, since you've been a mod for like crypto communities for like so many years already, right? But what about like all the get rich quick schemes in terms of crypto and everything like that? Like,
I mean that's definitely a lot. Specifically because crypto is it's super hard to justify whether it is legit or not legit. You know,
That's true.
I could say like this something like DeFi can give you a 50% return per year, and it is legit. But you can also say some project they promote like giving you like 10% every month isn't legit in crypto. So there's a lot of different voices. That's why like in crypto space, there's a lot of due diligence and study you need to do yourself. I would say like if they promise you this much amount, you need to dive deep into like to know like how it actually works, the whole thing. And I think this is what I do for the past 2 years. I did a lot in community moderation because I'm the one who approve and decline posts, right? So before I do this decision, I always like dive into like really study how it works before. Okay, if it makes sense, then I approve it. But I will like tell the author to like please include non-financial advice in your post. So like if someone get into trouble because of this, if someone want to take this as an advice is on their own discretion, and like so it's kind of protection mechanism for this part lah. But if the whole mechanism doesn't make sense, I will just decline right away lah.
yeah, I remember when I first like posted on Bitcoin Malaysia, you told me to oh bro, make sure that you put non-financial advice so that this is for the sake of your safety. Like
Well, to be honest, when I the crypto, as KC mentioned, right? Crypto, there's a lot of gray areas out there. I would say I once heard like a friend or mentor saying, forex used to be a wild west, right? Right now, crypto is a wild west in the market. So I guess when people are into the space, right, they just need to know what they are facing now, what to expect, the risks and so on.
I think crypto is a knowledge is power kind of game actually. Seriously. Crypto is really a knowledge is power kind of game right now. Unlike the more regulated aspect of like personal finance, crypto is really like anything goes. Yeah. Oh yeah, and talking about the cons of FIRE, right? We're talking about how people are so hyper obsessed
With the
of,
goal.
of the goal, right? To the point where they don't even know, to the point where they totally forgo the journey, right? You recently came up with a poll on the FIRE group talking about like whether community members wanted to have kids or not. And to my surprise, right, I noticed that the majority of people there, or maybe to not my surprise, most people there didn't want kids.
I would say maybe I would elaborate on that by saying it's not that they do not want kids, but they're happy by themselves. So aside from that, I would say the financial aspect of having the idea of having kids, right? The financial preparation ahead of having kids is something that us as a single cannot imagine, right? You gotta imagine just from the even prior to the kid is being born, right? You gotta prepare this and that, right? And once it's being born, you gotta buy pampers, right? You gotta buy milk, right? All these things are, it's not simple, right? My own personal financial planner, he gotta save out like a buffer of money before, in preparing for his first born. So for a lot of other people in this community, or even not, and even worse for the ones without the financial consciousness in mind, right? It is so tough, right? Especially in this time and age that we are living in, having a children, right? We can't even support ourselves, right? And our if we have like parents and so on, and now you want to add one more, or even two, or even three, or even five more, right? It's so tough. So I'm not surprised to see the discussion that some people, they prefer to be alone, right, or not to have kids. But at the same time, I also see some really heartwarming feedback or perspective from especially newborn parents, where it changes their life, right? It really adds colors to their life. So I would say it's a mix, right? And I do agree with some of these parents, newborn, especially these parents, that having a kids, right? Having kids totally change your life if you can cope and survive the tough part. It really changed your life for the better. So no right or wrong, I would say. I'm just very intrigued or very curious to know what other people think.
So KC, when are you gonna have kids?
Bro, still young lah, bro. Not like this, bro. I'm going to ask this question back to you and Yi Xuan. When are you guys going to have kids?
Once I have a girlfriend, then I'll maybe think about that. But for now, let's focus on work first.
Our last guest is also was also single. Yeah, is also single. So I guess I don't know why, but most of our guests are single. So ladies, hit us up.
I think this is just Chun Weng calling you girls to basically hit him up, not us.
Hey,
you don't
sure,
represent
sure.
all of us. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I think you say like how you is your first work like in the startup, is your first time stumble upon crypto?
Not really. When I was in university, it was in my final year, right? I was in an assignment. I was during that time, I just ended my leadership or presidency in my club. So I was thinking about, what's next, because it was my final year, right? I don't want to waste that. I want to learn more before I go out, because during that time, I was thinking about, what else can I learn? What else can I know, right? Or should I know before I started working, right? So I started to search, right? At first, it was real estate, I was dabbling about the idea of becoming a real estate agent, right? What's the prospect of that? Then I started, what's the future of the market, right? What's the future of the economy? Then I stumbled upon financial technology. And then, right, more specifically, I stumbled upon Bitcoin and blockchain. Wow, I think, okay, this is something new, right? Back in 2016, 17. So I started research about that, right? And during a university student conference, I presented about that as well, right? During the assignment, I presented about that as well. When all my peers, they are doing things like, real estate, they do things about interest rate, all those boring economic stuff. So I did something about Bitcoin, blockchain, right? Which is something new, right? To be honest, when I explained about during my presentation, I wasn't sure if I really 100% fully understand about Bitcoin and blockchain as well, but I did it anyway. So that kind of propelled me to look for opportunities about blockchain in Malaysia as well. So initially, I stumbled upon like a startup that sells gold, right? They use blockchain to monitor the transactions. So, but I forgot why I didn't get that position, but eventually I got into this insurtech company. That the plan was to develop a blockchain solution for insurance. But unfortunately, for now, I don't think the insurance industry, right, especially in Malaysia, is prepared for blockchain yet. So that kind of failed, right, for the company, not me. So But I brought that knowledge to it. Really, it was a good experience. I get to go around reading white papers, right? Go around um, join people to understand their discussion of blockchain and so on. So it was an interesting time, right? And during that time, we knew that the Bitcoin hit the 20K all-time high before the sell down, right? So that was during that really interesting time of blockchain and crypto development. Yeah.
So like currently, right? What's your crypto portfolio right now? If you're okay with sharing.
Yeah, sure. So I only own 2 crypto right now, right? Because I'm not like
Like a
I
degen.
wouldn't say I'm like a hardcore crypto guy.
Yeah.
So I only own 2 crypto right now, Bitcoin and Ethereum. And normally I would try to cap it around 5%, right? Plus minus 5% of my whole portfolio. Yeah.
You mentioned about that, like you are there during the whole hype up to 20K before the sell down. Okay. So I think this year is actually played out quite similar to, I mean, like just 2 months ago, it played out quite similar to 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a bull market and then before the whole sell down. But it's a lot different from back then because like this year we still have continuous like people attention into crypto.
Yeah.
I just want to get your opinion on that. And do you think like crypto is currently too overhyped?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the one in 20 that so what we have saw this year, from the surface it looks as if they are similar compared to 2018. But how I look at it is, I think it's that's a fundamental different in how this drop happened, because back in 2017, 18, right, there are a lot of naysayers, right? Banks saying that Bitcoin is a scam and so on, right? So basically the participants in the crypto space, as let's just talk about Bitcoin back then, right, were mostly retailers like you and me, right? People with little money, right, and so on. But right now we are seeing institutional participants coming into a crypto space, right, with the introduction of like a Bitcoin, Ethereum futures, right? Futures are like the structured financial product which is one of the most transparent product in the market, right? We start to see this kind of institutional products in the market, and with that comes in institutional players. So this time, right, the participation is already different, where we are seeing big players coming into the market. So the whole idea of the drop is, I think we can perceive it quite differently, and the development, especially on the crypto front, is also very much different, right? Much better and much wider compared to 2017, because we are starting to see things like NFT, right? Payments, Bitcoin payments being more widely accepted by even countries and companies. So that's a fundamental long-term potential that for the crypto, especially the main ones, right, in the market. So in terms of participation, usefulness, right, case studies, we are seeing much more solid ones, right, compared to back in 2017, 18. So I would say, for me myself, I'm more of a long-term investor in especially in the main cryptos like Bitcoin, Ethereum. So so I would say it's different, right, and it's a good sign to see that the drop happens, so I can buy more, right, at the drop.
So the general sentiment is that crypto is very, very risky. So what would you say about that actually? Is crypto actually too risky?
It depends on how you define that, right? So if you define your risk across like a short-term time frame basis, right? If you buy it today, you're gonna cash out next week. Well, of course, right? Might as well, go to a casino or something. So, but so if you define risk like that, it is risky. But if you define your risk over the long term, and you really understand what Bitcoin can do for the people, for the financial industry, or what Ethereum can change, right, in the whole ecosystem, the whole centralized ecosystem that we are living right now, right? You see, it's a massive potential ahead, right? So I would say it depends on how you define your risk. There's certainly a risk, right? But for me, if you stretch your horizon over a long term, it's just like anything else.
Just a while ago, I also noticed that. So recently, I also read one of your posts, right? You talk a little bit about China investments and things like that,
Yeah.
right? So I was also wondering, like, are there potentially any other tech investments that you're very passionate about right now?
Yeah, so right now, I do own a bit of holding in China tech investment, particularly exchange traded fund or ETF. So, reason being, right, it's just a small part of my portfolio, just a disclaimer. So, the reason why I'm interested in China tech, despite all the clamp down by the government lately, is because um it's just gonna grow, right? In my opinion, it's just going to grow, right? In terms of how the China market right now. So, I've been to China before, right? For a month, during a stay in Shanghai just for table tennis training. So I've seen the lifestyle there, right? I've seen how Meituan, but this particular delivery company, right? Kind of like Grab, but much bigger, right? How they kind of dominate the whole food delivery industry, right? And so on, right? And it's really part of the life of this Chinese people over there. So, and hopefully, I do see a potential there. So that's the reason why I do have a little bit of investment into China tech. But aside from that, not really.
Yeah, I'm a bit hesitant to go in like recently because of all of the clampdowns and everything also. But it's okay to. I think if it's a long-term play, then it should be okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you just gotta expect. You cannot look at the Chinese investment in China quite similarly as the investment in the US, because the whole structure, the government structure, right, is very different, right? It's a yin and yang, it's a very, very different thing. So you gotta sort of have this expectation already. So I would say for people that want to invest in China, right, consider, right, if we want to invest in China, skip individual company, go with ETFs, right, or exchange traded fund, okay, and don't have too much of China portfolio, right? Keep it small, right? But just a little, just for kind of like my crypto portfolio, just to hype things up, and look
Make
at
it spicy, right?
that's what I mean to say, but more just look into the long-term potential, because
Yeah.
ultimately, what I've learned over when it comes to investing into something, right, is everything in our life is a form of bet, right? BET bet, right? So you invest in US stock, is a form of bet that this company is going to rise, right? You invest in crypto, is a form of bet that Bitcoin is going to replace, ideally, right, the fiat currency and so on. So yeah, so you cannot run away from uncertainties, right? So what you can do is kind of if you are really interested to write on the potential, right, what you can do is to control your risk, right? Keep it small, but you have it there. So yeah.
Cool. I think this is there's one thing, like I in my opinion, I think like this is really interesting because specifically for tech, I think I invested in some tech company in the States, and I think everyone know like everything has the risk, but my personal view is like, well, in a sense, like tech is inevitable. It's just like in the 90s, like when you invest in Google and stuff like that, people will say, okay, this internet company will go bust one day. I mean, yes, definitely a lot of company go bust during like 1998, the crash, okay, the worldwide economic crash. But there's also like company that continues like living, and I really agree with what Yi Xuan said. If you invest in ETF, it makes you a lot more safer, because even if one company crash, there's still other companies that really live through the bubble, like after the bubble pop. Okay, so
yeah, that's true.
That's really interesting. So I have one more question, but this question I want to direct to both of you, because I want to direct this to Chun Weng first before to you, because I think Chun Weng just recently made the jump. Okay. So Chun Weng, you come from an investor, like investment banking scene, and then you jump to right now what you're doing is content creation. How do you actually explain that to your parents, cousin, relative? I mean, we're in the Asian family and stuff like that. And then I know like Asian family, they don't really support like all these things.
Well, actually, I did investment and corporate banking, right? So I was in a program that actually did both. But I focused more on the corporate banking side. And to answer you, I don't know actually. I think eventually at a certain point you have to just stop caring about what other people think, you know, because ultimately, I think one of the coolest quotes that I got is that we when you look at a photo, right, the first person that you look at is yourself, right? So that means, right, obviously it's like you care about yourself the most, and rightfully so. You should be loving yourself, but I don't know why some of us make our decisions based on other people's opinions.
Mm.
So, and most of us actually make our decisions based on other people's opinions, but to me that's not like the goal, right? The goal shouldn't be about what other people think. The goal should ultimately be your own. I know it's going to sound a bit cringy, but your own enlightenment, your own understanding of, you know, of yourself, of what you want, right? And I think it's different path for everyone. Yeah. Yeah.
How about you, Yi Xuan? Like for you, like you say, like since the start you didn't think about working in a corporate firm, but I think you studied economy, things like that, and I think a lot of expectation for you to goes on to be a like financial planner, something like that, throughout or economist. So how do you perceive this, and how is the reaction around like people around you when you say like, okay, I'm not going to work in any corporate firm although I study this specific course?
Well, truth to be told, right, I'm quite fortunate because my parents do not have much like a set of boundary for what I should do. So I'm free to set my own path. And I'm very fortunate as well because during my time of taking the leap, there's no financial pressure for me to really, support my family and so on. Of course, right now I can, right? But back then, when I quit, right, it's impossible, right? So, yeah, I think number one is I'm very fortunate, right? And my parents, it's quite a lot about the family matters, right? How your family is, the context of your family relative to your decision. So it's not about what other people say, but when you want to make a leap and your parents need kind of like your financial support, right? It is hard, right? It's impossible, almost impossible to make the leap. You're gonna live without income for a few months, maybe a years, right? So on that respect, I'm very fortunate that my parents, there's no such issues, right, or context for me, right, the financial restraint for me to do so. So that's one, and number two is it's about my personality. I would say I don't really follow norm, right? How like if people say A, I might do a little bit different from A. So yeah, so that's kind of like my personality per se. And during that time, again, number three is I was young, right? Relatively young during that time back in 2018, right? So I thought to myself, you know what? Let's do this, right? If I feel, what do I have to lose? Again, given the context that I do not have to support my family during that time, so and I don't have a girlfriend, so there's no one for me to layan and
Ladies.
so on. So I mean that's a good thing, right? So I can fully focus on pursuing what I want to do. So what do I have to lose, right? So then I started doing them, right? The funny thing is a long time, right? After 2018, 2019, right? Then I realized, oh shit, this is gone far longer than I think. So that's something, if I lose right now, then I would lose the past 2 to 3 years of time working on this. So you become someone that cannot lose, right? Have nothing to lose, right? To someone that cannot lose. So this shift of mindset really push you to, okay, I cannot die in this pandemic, right? I must survive. So that's kind of helped me. This transition really helped me become what I am today, propel me to where I am today. Of course, I wouldn't say I'm like super successful, right? Like some of the local YouTubers nowadays, but the fact that I do make full-time income, right, from blogging, even more the full-time income, which is even more than my peers, right? I'm blessed. I'm blessed, right? And without having to edit videos, and which I hate a lot, and putting my face in front of people, and by just writing, right, which, as I mentioned at the start, is a blessing. It's a blessing. Yeah.
Yeah, to add on to Yi Xuan's point, I have also been used as a scam. So putting yourself out there comes with a price also. But yeah, also to add on to Yi Xuan's point, I think it's good to have some backup plans in case if you crash and burn also actually. But also very good to have the mindset that if you lose everything, right, you can always start again. And whatever it is that you lose, whenever you fail or whatever, I think you learn something in the process. That's why the process is so important. So say if, for example, if Yi Xuan were to fail overnight, which is probably not going to happen, but say if he does, right, he'll still have the skill sets that he has learned over like the last few years. I think that's more valuable than whatever income it is that he's making today.
Yeah, that's very fair as well when you think about that, right?
Yeah.
The 2 to 3 years is not. It's definitely something that you and me have learned as well. Yeah.
But yeah, and also just to tie up like the whole podcast session, I think this podcast session has been a pretty light one, a pretty fun one actually. But just to tie it up, usually we give our guests like a non-financial advice, but for you, we're gonna give you like a non-life advice. Right? So all advice starting from this section onwards should not be taken seriously. It's just our personal opinion, and it's really just pretty much for fun.
Yeah.
So yeah. So okay, so you should, if somebody were to say that, hey man, I'm gonna quit my job and then like dive right into crypto or like whatever and make content, what would you tell them actually?
Now, this is a very interesting question, because if I were to ask this question to anyone else or friend, right, and they give me something I don't want to hear, I wouldn't listen to them. So, so if someone already have, right, by their subconscious, right, subconsciously they really want to create and do this certain thing, right, regardless of what I say, it's not going to be useful, right, or make sense to them, right? It cannot get through them already because they already have the idea, right, the answer, right? What they want is for you to validate their idea so they can make the leap. So just to start, right, as a disclaimer, right, whatever I say, if you really want to create, there's nothing that I say that's going to change your mind. So so this is more for the people that haven't have that the thought in your mind yet. So for me, my personal suggestion is recently I've been reading this book called So Good They Can't Ignore You by Cal Newport, right? He is a really good he's a computer scientist, right, and a very, very established author. So in his book, he mentioned that in order for you to really start a really successful venture and so on, there are a few things, right? Number one, you need to have the you need to have skills, right? Not skills that everyone have, right? What makes you different from the others, right? So you need time, right, to develop that skills, right? So as an example, if let's say you are very good in programming, right? But sorry, you want to start startup into something, right? But you don't have that particular experience, so you know that's bound to most likely bound to fail, right? Because you don't have any experience at all. So number one, pick out the skills, right? Pick out the niche and skills, right? And number two, you're gonna have you're gonna explore, try different small bets along the way, right? And for example, for me, I tried trading, right? I tried blogging. I'm a table tennis coach. So back in 2018, I already had working on three different little bets at the same time. But of course, you can do it at a different time as well. And number three, right? Once you already have this skill, and you realize that this bet is something that you want to pursue further, you need to market it in a place where people it's well receivable, that's well received. Example, if you market crypto in a FD Facebook group, right? It doesn't make sense, right? You're gonna market your crypto knowledge or skills or products or services in crypto space. That makes more sense, right? And so with these three elements, skills, right? Little bets and also marketing, right? Then and only then you're gonna find that particular mission, right, to really do what you do. So of course, when I say this, right, I myself did not achieve all these things when I quit. So I only come to read the book lately. So ideally, you want to have all these three elements lined up together before you want to go all out per se in your life. So yeah, I would say that that's my advice. Have that skill, right? That have that niche skills that people actually wants pays for, right? And number two, what did I mention, right? Make it marketable, right? I'm sorry, make little bets along the way and find what works. And lastly, market it in a platform or community where it's well received, so it attracts eyeballs. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, specifically for the betting one, I really agree with that, because when we have a thought in mind, I think like to go on, it's better for you to have to experiment with different choices before really like jump into it. But I know some people, like, since the first day they have like, okay, since young they have like, okay, I want to do this, and then they build their whole skill set up just to do this thing. Then okay, for those kind of guy, maybe you just jump right into it for what you want to do, then it's okay. But if you are not like, you're just coming out and then you just want to do something different and you don't really have the required skill set to do like the bet you want like really good, so I think it's better for you to try different things. Who knows, because even for studies, you goes in for the course, like the whole life you want to study, like let's say medicine, and then you goes in, it doesn't really suits you, and then you're like, oh shit, did I make the wrong decision? Yeah, it's kind of like things like that.
Or
Yeah.
worse, if the government doesn't support your job.
Yeah.
I think also one thing I would add is to really ask yourself whether you're doing it for the right reasons or not. I think a lot of people do it for fame, money, and things like that, but or power or whatever. But
Well, I mean, to be fair, right? Whatever you want to do, right, it always involves money. I mean, but should that be your main thing or main idea? It's up to everyone's perspective to really make their decision.
my thought process is more like this: like if you are naturally, because I feel like you don't choose the colors that you like, right? So.
Mhm.
So I think we're all naturally good at certain things. If you recognize that you're naturally good at that thing, and then you focus a lot on that thing, ultimately money and all those other things that you think that you need will come. But yeah, but that's just my view.
Do you guys think that working for something you're passionate about really makes it a lot more different? Because I think what you guys are doing right now is like something you guys are passionate about. Like Yi Xuan, you're passionate about financial stuff, specifically to personal finance and stuff like that. And Chun Weng, you're really passionate about crypto lately. So like, does that change like the whole aspect of you coming into working on all this thing?
Now, maybe I'll. Oh, sorry, Chun Weng, you go first.
Okay. So I think passion is like a weird word. Because I think passion changes all the time, things like that. But ultimately, there are certain things that you are naturally inclined towards. Yeah, I really do think so. Like Michael Phelps is like built like a beast, you know. So yeah.
I would say regarding when it comes to passion, I would again suggest everyone to go check out the book So Good They Can't Ignore You, because in that book the first thing that the author mentioned is passion, right? Is over glorified, right? It's not when you don't have a skill, right? When you don't have a project that attracts eyeballs, when you don't know how to market what you are doing, right? Passion is really it is nothing, right? When you don't have all the elements lined up together. So I would say, and again, just to mention, it doesn't mean passion is useless, right? Once you have all these things lined up together and you started to see what you do giving impact, right, to people, then this is where passion comes in. This is where mission comes in. But all this is not the sequence. You gotta get it right, right? It's not something that you start with, right? It's something that to be more sustainable is something that you found along the way and make it and along the way in and really make your career or project sustain itself.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. And I really think that passion is an overglorified word. Yeah. And I think passion is also quite tied to the ego also. When people tell you that you're good at something, then suddenly that becomes your passion also. And when you okay, so we're just gonna tie it up, and
Right.
Why don't you just tie it up for us by explaining to us what the word fire is, and then we'll call it a day, and then the floor will be open for you to pitch whatever it is that you want to pitch.
All right, sure.
Okay.
So all right, so to quickly sum it out, so basically FIRE is an acronym for Financial Independence, Retire Early. And the whole idea is basically you're gonna build out your financial journey to an extent of where your capital or your investment, right, earns you enough, or business, right, earns you enough passive income, or that you can quit your main job, right, and perhaps not work anymore. But my suggestion is do focus on the financial independence part, right? Because not everyone is suitable to retire early per se, right? According to the normal, how we describe retire as per the norm. Okay, so personally, for audiences that listen until the end, right? My name is Yi Xuan. I run my blog Nomoneylah.com, so La with the LAH. So do check out my website or blog every week on a new financial review or content, and I hope it helps. And do subscribe to my blog at nomoneylah.com/subscribe to be the first to receive my weekly newsletter.